A little disclaimer before we start our review. 1. It's been a while since I've done a review on this channel, as on Fridays it would usually be Splatoon 2 updates, and I would spend my Fridays showing off the updates of Splatoon 2 instead of doing reviews. And now that Splatoon 2 updates have been done, I am thinking about starting some more reviews on this channel. Also because it's summertime and I have a lot more time on my hands to do so. And with that said, it will probably be a little bit tougher review because I haven't done one in a while. So sorry if I stutter or if I get things wrong or if I repeat myself. That's just because I haven't done a review in a while. Second, this is my first and only so far Final Fantasy game that I've beaten. I've also played Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 10, and I almost beat Final Fantasy 10, just couldn't beat the final boss. And that's about it. So I've only played those two and only beaten this game. So sorry if I say some things wrong and pronounce some things wrong, or make mistakes about the Final Fantasy series, or say things that are incorrect. So yeah, anyway, with that said, let's start our review of Final Fantasy 15. So, Final Fantasy 15, you play as this boy Noctis, who is a prince of this kingdom, which I already forget, so sorry about that. And you're on your way to get married to this summoner called Lady Lunafreya. And with not just by yourself, you're going with your pals Gladios, Prompto, and Ignace. Gladios being your bodyguard, Prompto being your childhood friend, and Ignace being kind of like your personal servant, I guess you could say. He doesn't really have like a title. I think maybe secretary, but I don't know. But anyway, as you travel, the three of you, from getting from point A to point B, some bad things happen, and that's when the story gets in, and combat and fighting and all that stuff. In fact, in the beginning of the game, I'm not going to spoil anything, by the way, this is spoiler free, but towards the beginning of the game, something bad happens, like in most games, and yeah, so things don't go smoothly as planned. Anyway, so just like in Final Fantasy 13 and on, it is action-based RPG, unlike the 12 from before. Actually, I think 12 started it, so that might actually be my bad. But from 11, or maybe I think 10 I think was the last one that had time-based combat, and the well, 10 or 11 forward, I'm pretty sure, had the action-based RPGs, similar to like Kingdom Hearts, as made by the same developers, Square Enix. So instead of just waiting your turn and fighting, and then your enemy attacks, it's all action-based, and you're kind of fighting just all together. Similar to also like Xenoblade Chronicles, except you have no really arts. But with that, you play as Noctis, and you have, or Noctis's kind of, I guess, powers, he can hold 4 weapons, and he can also warp strike, which is pressing the triangle button. By the way, I'm talking about the PS4 version, which I actually played the Royal Edition, and another reason why I'm reviewing this is because I forgot to mention before, its last DLC got released recently, and so because of that, I decided why not do this as my first review. So, with that said, I am reviewing kind of the Royal Edition, I guess you could say, with its latest DLC being Episode Arin. So I'll talk about that too, because that doesn't actually, that's not actually included with the Royal Edition. But anyway, enough of that said. So you play as Noctis, and you are able to equip 4 weapons. You have this warp strike with the triangle button, which further away you are, the more damage you'll do, and that's kind of the special power that Noctis has. You're mainly holding the circle button a bunch of times just to attack, and then you press the square button to block, and there's not really much to the combat with Noctis per se, but some of the other characters which you get to play on as later on with the future updates ever since the game came out in 2015, I think. So you weren't able to play as them, I think, on day one, but as the game aged, it got a lot of updates. It made the game even better than it already was. Anyway, so like I said, you play as Noctis, and the combat's a little bit boring. Like I said, you're mainly pressing the circle button and attacking, and then occasionally dodging with square. But Noctis really isn't, I guess, the best character to kind of play as I felt he was kind of boring, but it still managed to be pretty fun just beating up bad guys. And you're also able to have your buddies help in with the press of L1, I think, and pressing on the D-pad for which character you want to attack and do some special move. You can also use, of course, potions, magic spells, but you actually have to craft your own magic spells. And also, you're also able to do this special move where you press both triggers. You can either summon someone, or you can have like a bunch of these weapons kind of surround you and be able to equip all of them at once and do a lot of damage and have like this really fast speed and technique, which comes really handy in bosses and even just normal battles. And there's also a skill tree, as you can see on screen right now, and it uses AP, and you actually need that to play as the other characters. And you press, I think, L2 and choose a different character, but I think only when you're actually battling. Gladios, he fights with Rage, where you have to block attacks, and when you do that, you gain up Rage, and your Rage is pretty much your multiplier of your attack, which is really cool. And he hits hard and can do this like special attack that kind of increases as you do more damage, and can do a lot of damage when you fill it up fully. Then you have Prompto, who uses guns, and he kind of just sits back and shoots from afar, and you can get crackdown shots if you get like a lucky hit and do a lot of damage like that. He also has not just a pistol, but the pistol has like unlimited ammo, but he also has an SMG that has 100 ammo and shoots really fast. And you also have a bazooka, which has like, I think 3 shots, does massive damage, but you only get 3. And he also has a katana, but you don't really want to use it too much because he's more of a ranged attacker, but he does have that just in handy. And then you have Ignace, who increases his, he's similar to Gladio, where he increases his multiplier of damage, but in order to do so with Ignace is you have to, the more you attack and the consecutive hits you get, the more damage multiplier you'll get. He can also change his daggers elements. He has I think, was it fire, ice, and electric. Electric being really fast and kind of warping back and forth. Ice doing this more of an area blast where he kind of spins around with ice daggers, and then fire is kind of just overall just good and does damage, and I think is the best, to be honest. And then he also has a gauge similar to Gladio, where you fill it up and it does this massive attack. He can also counterattack too, which is really helpful. If you press square in time when you get hit back, you can press circle immediately and counterattack, which also heals you from the damage that you just took, which I think Gladio can do too, but you have to press square right before he falls down, and you don't take any damage, plus you don't fall down, and save some time. So I feel like with that, the other characters are a bit better, but unlike Noctis, or unlike the other characters, Noctis can wield 4 weapons and also has that super powerful attack that he can wield all weapons at once. And he also has that warp strike, which can come in handy, but I don't feel like it's that much of a cooler difference than the other characters having multipliers and crackdown shots and different types of guns, which I kind of like more. And you get to play these characters in their different episodes, because throughout the game, these other three characters, Ignace, Prompto, and Noctis, or Ignace, Prompto, and Gladia, my bad, they all lead the party at one point or another, and it's kind of weird that they do that, but then Square Enix is like, buy this DLC to see what happened, which is kind of stupid, but I got it for free with the Royal Edition, and I do have to say it's kind of worth it because they are fun to play as, but the fact that you can play as them without it is, I guess, not too worth it, but they do give a lot of backstory to them and show more character development of the separate characters, and really get to show the love of these characters, and to, I guess, pick a favorite, I don't know. And that's the main point of Final Fantasy 15, is brotherhood. And as you can see, you have a party of 4, and all these characters kind of love each other and have this very powerful bond with one another, saving each other and helping each other out and laughing with each other, and it's so like good, and it's kind of sad because towards the end some bad things happen, not gonna spoil anything, but and then when they separate too, it's kind of just sad, and not being able to see that one character, knowing what happened to them and not knowing if they'll be okay or not, makes you worry, and just makes you worry for the character and the relationships that they've had. And it really is, it's a game about brotherhood. But with that, there's also a bunch of other things to do in this game, not just like heart-to-hearts of the different characters and stuff. It's a bunch of side quests and quests like usual in most RPGs. One thing that I really found annoying though was the traveling around, because you're mainly in the Regalia, which is the car that you have, and you kind of just sit around. There is like some music that you can play from the previous Final Fantasy games, but it's the fastest way to go because you can't like warp travel unless you've gotten to that place initially. The loading times are pretty bad for this game, I do have to admit, but it's not too bad, but it still is kind of bad. So even if you want to warp to some place, it'll probably take you as long as the Regalia will, and you're kind of just sitting in the car. But there are some conversations to listen to of the characters, and they are pretty funny or heartwarming and stuff. But later on with the updates, they actually included a Dune Buggy, which is better than the Regalia, and later on you actually get a flying car, which makes things a little bit better, but that's later on in the game. You can get the Dune Buggy, I think, once you get to the garage, but it's not really that much of a speed difference, but you do get to kind of drive on the land and kind of make shortcuts, and I guess stuff like that can be useful, but it's not really anything really speed changing. And the fact that like it takes a little bit, like it's kind of slow, the car, and then like trying to get out if you found something, it's also kind of annoying. But the Dune Buggy, I guess, kind of makes up for it, and I'm glad that they did add that. But it's just kind of annoying. It's like go to point A to point B, and it's like point B is like a mile away, and you're just sitting in the car just doing nothing, and you really can't do anything in the car. You can drive it, or you can have Ignace drive it, but it's really just annoying. And sure, you get to listen to some of the soundtracks and stuff. They even have, I think, Nier, which is pretty cool. Nier soundtrack. I think they only have 2 tracks though, but that's cool too. And yeah, riding in the car is kind of boring, but other than that, the cutscenes, the combat is all pretty fun, and like gaining AP, learning spells and stuff, or getting spells, because you get like the I think it's Elemency, where you need to get like the certain element and then put it into an empty flask in order to actually get the magic gear, um, which you can have anyone equip it, even yourself or anyone else. Um, the difficulty is actually pretty tough. You do have to kind of grind here and there, and you do have to be careful of yourself because Noctis is kind of like a glass cannon. He's very strong, but like if he gets hit, he is gonna take a lot of damage. Because unlike Gladius or Ignace, they can like jump back up and then counterattack. Um, what's his name? Noctis can't really do that. He can parry, but only at like certain times, and you have to like do it before they attack, while Gladius and Ignace can do it after they attack, and it becomes more helpful. While Prompto, he kind of sits back, so he doesn't really have to deal with that too much, making the other characters kind of a little bit better than Noctis. Anyway, the other things, the episodes, like I said, really fun. One of the episodes that wasn't included was the Royal, or not in the Royal Edition, was the episode Arin, which is the bad guy in this game, and you get to play as him and see his backstory, which answers a lot of questions that you have throughout the 15 chapters, or however, I think, yeah, 15 chapters, and it answers a lot of questions, and it's also really fun. Although this episode is like $10, while the other ones are, I think, $3 or something like that, it definitely is worth it in my opinion. Really fun. It's more fleshed out than the other episodes, giving a lot more information and being more fun, and kind of you get to experience this open world of, I think, Insomnia, I think its name is, in the daytime, where you get to experience Insomnia in the nighttime, but never in the daytime, and it's really cool. Maybe I'll do another review of that in another episode, but I'll talk about the DLC a little bit. Like I said, it's fun. It's a different gameplay than the other characters too, as you're kind of this demon and going around and pretty much destroying soldiers and all that stuff, and it's really, really fun, and it's definitely probably my favorite character probably to play as, although you can't play as him in the main story like the other four. It's just a really fun experience, and I recommend getting it if you have this game or are planning on getting this game. Anyway, the story is pretty good. It's hard to kind of keep up with at sometimes, but for the most part, it's pretty simple, and it's pretty heartbreaking towards the end. But kind of in most Final Fantasy games, it's kind of the same, where the main character dies. That's kind of how it is. Sorry to say if that's a spoiler or not, but like that's kind of how it is in most Final Fantasy games. So I don't know if it's a spoiler or not, but that's how it usually is. Although actually I don't know that because I haven't played that many Final Fantasy games, but most of them are either already dead or do die in the end. But yeah, there's enough spoilers for that, I guess. What else though? I don't really know what else to talk about. Yeah, the heart-to-hearts, they're pretty cool. Each character actually has their own like ability. Ignace does cooking, Gladius is survivor, and Noctis does fishing, and Prompto does photography. And Noctis doing fishing is actually pretty fun. It's a little bit difficult, but it can be frustrating at times. But it is fun, I do have to admit. And I think they even made a VR game of it, to be honest, which is pretty funny. But it's fun, I do have to admit, it's really fun. I never really liked fishing in most games, but in this game I really do like it, and it's probably my favorite fishing, I guess, game or fishing part in any other game pretty much. So that's positive, I guess. Anyway, I don't know what else to talk about, so I think that's about it. I guess I'll talk about the music a little bit too. Music's pretty good. Um, just like most Final Fantasy games, it's kind of orchestra and just really genuinely good. It's not really anything like breathtaking, but it goes well with the cutscenes and the combat and the areas that you're in. Also, Final Fantasy 15 does have its online multiplayer, which comes with the Royal Edition, but I think you have to pay $5 if you don't have the Royal Edition. I played a little bit of that. I didn't beat it, but it seemed fun enough. You don't need the online. You can also play with the AI. So if you don't have PlayStation Plus, you can always just play with the AI, and it's still fun. It's just kind of Final Fantasy 15, just with missions and stuff, but that's already in Final Fantasy 15 to be honest, because there are like hunting missions toward this Chocobo area. And I forgot to talk about the Chocobos. So yeah, Chocobos, you can ride them. It's pretty fun. There's not really much to it though. You can just sprint and run. I think there are Chocobo races. I only think I did one with Prompto, and that was it. Cause like some of the game, it's kind of just like empty. Like there's not really much to do sometimes. Like you'll be riding the Regalia. It's a big world, don't get me wrong, but like there's a lot of empty space here and there, and you're kind of just constantly running. And there's even like a skill chart for being able to sprint longer, which is kind of stupid, but yeah. And you don't really sprint that fast either, so it's not even that good to be honest. But yeah, so I think I might end the review there. If I were to give it a score, I'd probably give Final Fantasy 15 an 8 out of 10. Great combat, except for Noctis. Actually, I mean, Noctis isn't too bad, but like I like the other characters better, to be honest. There's also like these bonus battles that you fight with the other characters in their episodes, which I find really rewarding and also really fun. But Noctis doesn't really have that. I'm sure there's super bosses and stuff, but like it's not really like him alone fighting someone else, because in episode Ignace you get to fight what's his name? You get to fight Noctis. In episode Prompto you fight this girl Aranea, and in episode Gladio you fight this guy shoot, I forget his name. I know he's the marshal, but I forget his real name. Core, I think his name is. But yeah, Noctis doesn't really have to do that because he doesn't have his own episode. But that makes sense because you do play as him for the most part of the game. And yeah, so the combat, great. Music, pretty good. Story, great. Pacing, a little bit slow because of the Regalia and just how slow you kind of go and just how far things are away from each other. Is a little bit annoying, but other than that, good game, and I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10. Just a good overall good game. Definitely recommend it if you like your RPGs and looking for something to play. Definitely recommend it. Like I said, the Royal Edition is pretty good. Sadly, I think a sale just went by with JRPGs being on sale, so sadly that sale isn't out yet anymore. But if this game is on sale, I definitely recommend getting it. And if you do already have this game, I do recommend Episode Arn if you don't have it already. And overall, what they did with it and the downloadable content from 2015 to now 2019, ending its DLC, it has like changed from a decent game to a pretty good game. And although I never played it back when it initially released, I've heard and seen the like original version 1 edition, day 1 edition, and how much it has changed from then on. And it really has made a significant difference and made the game better and fixed most of its mistakes that it had before. But yeah, so I think that's gonna be it. So thank you guys all for watching. again, sorry if I repeated some things or didn't really know what I was saying or talking about. Correct me the mistakes that I made in the comments, I guess. Hopefully in the next review I'll know more about the game, and also be more comfortable because I just did a review, and yeah. So sorry if this is like an awkward review and stuff. Just wanted to kind of get it out there and make a video of this. So don't hit that dislike button. I see you there. Don't do it. I'm just kidding. But also thank you guys for 600 subscribers. It means a lot to me, and I do have to thank you for that. Didn't think I was actually gonna get 600 subscribers kind of this soon, I guess, or this late. I don't know. But anyway, thanks for watching, and yeah, probably next episode I'll review. I don't know, because I forget what I have reviewed already and what I haven't, but maybe another recent game, or I don't know. I'll look through the games that I played over the 2 years that it has been from the Splatoon 2 updates. Was because before the Splatoon 2 updates was the last time I did a review, and within those 2 years I played a lot of games and would love to review them. So anyway, with all that said, thank you for watching again. Thanks for the 600 subscribers, and make sure to like, comment, subscribe, like I always say, and stay tuned for more reviews, and hopefully you guys will enjoy right here on Untitled. Bye.